Been on the spiritual path for many years. First inspiration was Krishnamurti, then toward the light. Here, one of the core values is free will. Since countless spiritual readings, currently studying A Course in Miracles, plus many other courses. For about 5 months, I studied non-duality, and suddenly, it was less than 1 minute, I was suddenly in the non-dual state while washing the dishes. Pretty amazing, the dishes almost took care of themselves, like a breeze. In the middle of this, I thought, where did I go? And gone it was, and hasn't been there since. Of course, it was my ego that came in and ruined it, but I understand the non-duals who say there is no free will because it felt like myself wasn't there. But despite this experience, I believe in free will. Can you explain this experience and approach? Well, I just did a video, Meet Your Higher Self, where I actually talk about this dynamic, that as you begin, as the conscious you lets go of some of these separate selves, you become more and more connected to your higher self. You begin to experience more oneness with your higher self. And this can cause the conscious you to suddenly step outside of the separate selves, and you experience what some call a non-dual experience. Obviously, you can call that other things, and it has been described throughout the ages in many different ways by mystics. So it's not that non-duality is the only way to explain it. But you can just as well say it was a state of oneness with your higher self. And it can feel like your normal sense of self went away. It's not there. And therefore it can feel like your normal sense is not making the choices that you normally make. It's just flowing. You're just allowing it to happen. And that's what I describe in this video on Meet Your Higher Self. And I think what is happening to some people is that they may have been on a spiritual path for a while, they may have done various practices, but suddenly they have this mystical experience that's very different from what they've had before. And so the first time you have this, it can be really disorienting. That's what happened to me when I was in my early 20s. I took this meditation course. It was disorienting for me. Many people have described this. Some call it a Kundalini rising. It's just another way to describe it with words. And so the first time you can think this was a state of no self, because you felt like you didn't have your normal state of self. And this is what I've described, that the conscious you is really pure awareness, and you can experience yourself as pure awareness. And in that pure awareness, you don't have the outer personality. You are seemingly not making choices. You can at least have that for a period of time. And so, but the thing is, when you then have these experiences more often and for longer periods of time, you begin to connect to your higher self. And you begin to come into oneness with your higher self and realize that you are not a no self. It's not that there's nothing there. But I think what happens to some people is that when they have this concept of no self and non-duality, they are, as I described in my video about a non-dual experience is real, they are superimposing this mental construct on the experience. And therefore, they are thinking afterwards, oh, this meant no self is real. I was in a state of no self. I have no free will because it just happened. But as I explained in my video about Meet Your Higher Self, there comes a point where you don't have the outer will of the outer selves, but you still have some will of the conscious you, and then you feel the will of your I Am Presence, and they blend together in a harmonious whole. There is no contradiction there. And so I really think that the non-dual experiences, as you say, you understand how they can feel this way. I understand it as well. I'm not trying to blame anybody. I just think that if you have this, some of these non-dual teachings that talk about no self and nobody there and we don't have free will, I think you're putting yourself in a kind of limbo. It's a difficult state to be in, and I see this in people. They're confused, they're depressed, they really don't know I have no sense of purpose anymore because nothing really matters, right? And I don't think it's a healthy state, psychologically and spiritually, to be in. So that's why I'm, based on my own experiences, I've given these talks on non-duality because I really don't think it helps people. And I think it's important for people who are at that stage of development where we start having these experiences that you find a more life-supporting framework for interpreting and dealing with these experiences. Because they can be very difficult to deal with. I understand that. I have experienced it, over and over again. And so I just hope that what I provided in these videos can help some people. Because I see out there are videos out there where people have come to realize the limitations of this non-dual approach because they don't really feel like it gets them anywhere, and it disengages them from life. It's really like Eastern spirituality has a tendency to do, where people say, oh, the world is just an enemy of my spiritual growth. I don't want to have anything to do with the world. I just want to retreat from the world and take the next meditation course. I saw this in my first meditation movement. People are just constantly longing to go back and take the next meditation course. And it's really just, refusal to take responsibility for yourself and your own growth. That's really what it's about. It's a form, as I've said, of self-denial. And I don't think that is constructive whatsoever. It certainly doesn't lead to spiritual growth. It just stops you at a certain point because you think you reached the ultimate state. So where's there to go?